What's up, moviegoers? Welcome to the Marchio podcast. I'm your host, Anthony. In this episode of the Marchio podcast, I'm talking about Texas Chainsaw 3D, or Texas Chainsaw. The movie was released January 4th, 2013, has a runtime of 92 minutes, had a budget of $20 million, and grossed $47.2 million at the box office. Now, this movie is the 7th installment in the franchise, and this film, ladies and gentlemen, serves as a direct sequel to the original 1974 film, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So it's the first movie, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and then this movie. Now basically the story centers on Heather, who discovers that she was adopted after learning of an inheritance from her long-lost grandmother. She subsequently takes a road trip with her friends to collect the inheritance, unaware that it includes her cousin, Leatherface. I'm sure not many of you saw this because not many of you know about it. They tried to make the movie a 3D feel to it. There was a time where in the 2010s that they thought 3D horror movies were coming back just like the 1980s, but it didn't work. It didn't work at all. The interesting thing I like about this movie, and I actually did like this movie, is because the story plot. It takes place right after the original first film and is a sequel to that. And it just changes the whole dynamic of how certain things work and how certain things are done. But they're done in a way where they're fun. This movie is fun. And here's the thing. Leatherface in this is not your normal hulking brute presence of a villain. And in the end of the movie, you kind of feel bad for Leatherface because, he sees his cousin Heather getting the shit kicked out of her. And, he has to help her and he doesn't know what to do. So he helps her in a crazy way. And it's one of those movies where you root for Leatherface and the cousin Heather. The movie was different and you saw things happening so fast. Alexandra Daddario, who is a phenomenal actress and very underrated, stars as Heather, and she brought a different dynamic to how, the role of a woman is done in a horror movie. She was the one that's front and center. She basically told Leatherface what to do at the end, which is great. Stand up for yourself, don't get bullied. And Bill Moseley, who played Chop Top in the second Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, plays a different role in this movie, but it's more so subsequent. It's done well, it's done right. And Clint Eastwood's son, Scott Eastwood, plays a Deputy Carl. So it's good to see that certain familiar faces are in this movie, and it's done so well. And basically in this movie, Leatherface is kept in a certain area of the house and he's locked in the basement. And Heather is the only one that has the keys to it. So she basically knows when to bring him out, when not to bring him out, and feed him and take care of him. So basically she's taking care of him through this whole time after this movie is finished. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out, even though I did give some pointers away of what happens. But watching it and seeing how the things play out is really, really good. I don't know why they made the movie before this, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, at the beginning, because the 2003 remake was fantastic. Like I keep saying, it's one of the best horror remakes ever for a movie. Then they made the horrible movie at the beginning. And then they made this one, which was actually really, really good. I sat down, I caught it on Netflix, and I was like, let me check this out. What's the whole deal with it? And you can tell that the aspect of the 3D element of the movie was there, but it wasn't, which was good in a way. Certain scenes you could see the chainsaw, coming through the camera, and then you're like, it didn't work, so it wasn't that good. And like I said before, Leatherface in this movie is much more skinnier, not as menacing, but he has that quiet aspect to him where he plays that quiet schoolboy or quiet kid in school. And if you mess with him, shit will happen. And basically that's what happens. So let me know in the comment section below what you think about Texas Chainsaw 3D. Did you like it? Did you enjoy it? If you haven't seen it, will you be checking it out now that I mentioned it and talked about it? And do you think that the Leatherface character in this was much more scarier than the other versions of Leatherface that we're known for seeing in the other Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies? And did you like seeing the connection between Leatherface and his cousin Heather? And did you like seeing Bill Moseley return in this movie playing a different character than he did in the second movie, which was Chop Top? Let me know in the comment section below the questions I just asked. I'm curious to hear your answers. And be sure you tune into the next episode of the Marchio podcast where I talk about Leatherface. And be sure you click that subscribe button and hit that notification bell for new videos and new podcast episodes on the Marchio Productions YouTube page. And follow Marchio Productions on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And follow me, Anthony, your host, on Instagram and Twitter at misterfilmstock. And follow the Marchio Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. I'll leave a link to all the social media accounts in the description box below. You can check it out and follow along. All right, everyone, that does it for today's episode. I'm your host, Anthony. Thanks for tuning in.
It's me! It's Heather! It's your cousin! It's me! I'm Heather! Please, it's Heather!